Hey friends, so welcome back to episode 6 of my card making series. So today is all about making those shaped cards. So we're not making rectangle cards today, we're not making square cards. We're going to take a design and we're going to duplicate it and make a shaped card. And not only that, we're going to embellish it. I'm going to show you how to use multiple tools within Cricut Design Space. Easy things that you can do to make your card special. This is gonna be a ton of fun. And if you are new here, you are crafting with Kim Byers. Let's get into it. Okay, so here we are in Cricut Design Space, and there are a couple of keys to creativity when it comes to making shaped cards. Number one, keep your shapes simple. You don't want to get things that have hanging elements unless you are going to use something like the offset tool to kind of make them chunkier and bring them back together. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But I chose this watermelon because it was very dimensional, it was lots of pretty colors, and it's a simple shape that can be duplicated. The second thing you want to make sure that you do is if you have fonts, keep them easy to read. And third, I would say layer. Add as much interest as possible. And fourth, lots of color. You're printing this. You're not cutting out the multiple layers, you're printing it. And if you go with a very simple shape, just for instance, we're going to use an ant in ours, but say this was a large ant, you could actually add pattern to that. So let's just make this really big for the sake of showing you this. We'll go to Print Then Cut. We'll make that basically a flat image. Then when you go into color, you're going to now have a drop down for pattern, and you would be able to, put some sort of a fun pattern on that ant. And since you're printing it, guys, do all the things. And again, this is in the Print Then Cut video that I have up above. Next thing that we want to do now that we've chosen our designs is we want to think about how we're going to embellish our card and what we might need to do with the layers of the card. So the very first thing that you're going to do is make sure that it's the right size before you do anything else for your invitation, because you don't want to have to adjust other elements. So I want mine to be roughly a 5 by 7 or something close to that. My envelope is a 7 1/4 by 5 1/4. And so I'm going to make this just I don't want it swimming in the envelope either. So I'm going to make it a little bit larger. And so now that I have this, let's look over into the layers panel. I want to take this top layer right here and I want to duplicate that. And so now I'm going to have that as a separate element. I'm going to keep that separate. And I'm going to take the rest of this design and I'm going to flatten it. Okay, so now this is one Print Then Cut element. Now that I have that one side of my card, I'm going to duplicate that. So we're going to do that one more time. We're going to duplicate that, and then we literally want to put them together. So let's just flip this around. And guys, you can probably hear my dog. I have a giant schnauzer and she is very loud. I'm not sure if you can hear her, but she is ringing through the studio right now. Okay, so what I want to do now is I'm going to put these piece to piece and I'm just going to get them as perfect as possible. Maybe we need to get a little bit bigger on this. And you could also use the tool up above. So if we want to align, we could center them horizontally and now they're perfect. I want to flatten them. Okay, and so now they're one piece. So if I look here, I'm going to be able to grab them. It's one element. So let's make this a little bit smaller so that you can see this. And so now this is the front and back of my card. How awesome is that? And how easy is that? The next thing we want to do is if you look into shapes, you can grab this score line. So we will turn that around and we can get large again, and we want to put that score right through the center of this design. And so if you have a scoring tool, this is when you're going to be able to use that scoring tool. Okay, and so then we have the score all the way through. And so there we go. So now we have the front and back of our card and we have a score line. The thing is you need to make sure that that score line is attached to your design. So we're just going to grab all of it and we're going to select attached. And now whenever it goes over to the mat, they'll all be one piece. And then we have this element, which I'm going to put foam adhesive squares on, and it will go on top of the front of the card so it gives a raised effect. Now you could also do a couple of other things. So you could take this piece and we could duplicate it one more time. So let's just do that. We'll duplicate that. And this is just if you want to, you can handwrite on the inside or you can do this. And what I want to do is I want to make this now a cut piece instead of, there we go. So now we see it's a cut and that opens up our contour tool. We're going to hide all those contours and make that a solid element again. And so now this is going to be actually pretty small if you lay that over the top of your invitation. So if you want to make it larger, because remember you're printing this on white, so the interior of your card will be white. And so we could make this a little bit larger, and then you could even take this up and use text, and again keep it simple, and we can just move that above. There we go. So now we can see that. And so we'll just turn that on its side a little bit, but you can add text to this. And so once you get your message in there, and let's just scoot over, you can see mine is right here. Once you get all of the message written, then you could actually grab all of that and flatten it, make it one piece. And then that would print your lettering onto this interior element. How fun is that, right? So you can do everything here. And so if we look over, I also went in and got some ants, and I want you to be able to see this. So I put a offset around these ants. Now these are going to be on the envelope. You could also put them on the inside of the invitation if you wanted to. So we'll take our ant and then we'll look into offset. And so see, it's really, really big. So I'm going to make that, I want it to have some, you know, dimension, and plus I want it to fit on the top of my layered element here, and I want it to not take over the holes that I have for my seeds. So I'm just going to make that a little bit smaller. Once you hit apply, then when you change the color, you're actually changing the color of the area around the ant. Okay, so now make sure though, these are two separate elements. If you look over into your right-hand navigation, you see there's the ant and there's the offset. So make sure that you flatten those together. Now you're going to have a raised ant on top of your raised element on your invitation. It's all going to look very layered and very fun, and it all fits and it doesn't cover up any of your holes. And so I just duplicated these ants, and then I put a offset around all four of them because they're so tiny. And then these are going to possibly be on the inside of my invitation and then on my envelope, because the fun, the excitement of a party starts with the envelope. And we can do a whole thing on envelopes in an upcoming video. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll hide what we don't need, and we'll take things over to the mat. And so now we have two mats. So we're going to first cut the invitation, and then we will go to the second mat and we're going to cut all the elements. And one thing I would say is if we're making multiple party invitations, we're going to be able to double up some of those onto one sheet. So you will need a full sheet for the card, but then you would be able to double up on the secondary sheet so that you can save paper. Okay, so now it's time to print, and I have two videos that I'm going to pop up above because I want you to have all the information about Print Then Cut. One of them even goes into problems if you're having any problems. But so this is what we want to do. We want to select our printer, add a bleed. We want to use the system dialog box, and just make sure that if it doesn't pop up immediately for you, it could be hidden behind your Cricut box. So just don't get frustrated. And then media, we want a photo quality all the time, best all the time. We want all the color. And so now we'll go ahead and select print. And here's the first of the two sheets coming out of my Canon printer. And I'll pop this printer down below if you guys want to check it out. I love it. I've had it for several years. See how pretty? And now we want to select our material. So I'm just going to go into Browse All Materials, into cardstock, and we are using an 80-pound cardstock today. So I'm going to grab that. It's the last one. There we go. And we are ready to cut. And I'll meet you at the craft table. Okay, so here we are on the craft table, and these are my printouts. And I wasn't going to stop this project just because my printer decided to act up. As a matter of fact, I tried to change my ink, and I have never had this happen before, but I busted the yellow on my hand. And so I wanted to change my black so that I could get those really crisp black, but you can see it here. So we're going to go ahead and create this project because I want to show you how to do it. And just know that this purple really should have been black, but unfortunately my office supply store is like 30 minutes away and I don't feel like going in and getting any right now. So I hope you guys understand that. Okay, so here we go. So these are our bounding boxes. And again, this is all explained in that video that I'm putting up above. But basically we want to make sure that we get them securely in the corner, and you can use a brayer so that you don't get the inks or the moisture from your hands onto your design, and just make sure that it is on the mat really good. And then we're going to go ahead and feed that into our machine. Now for this card, we have a score line here on this card. The only thing is you don't have to have a scoring tool. So this is the scoring tool for the Explore. And then if you have a Maker, your scoring tools will look like this. And so there's actually two. I have two of them. The other head is down in the bottom, but this would be your housing for your scoring tool. But if you don't have either one of these, I can show you a way that you can score this without having a tool at all. Okay, so for this though, we're going to go ahead and open up our A clamp, pop that in, close it, select play or select go. So much like pins, if you score something, you're going to score it first. And right now it's reading our bounding boxes, because as soon as our scoring is done, it's going to move right into cutting. Okay, the scoring was exactly that quick. And so see, now it's just going to go right into cutting. Okay, and so now we can go ahead. Now, one thing I want to show you, and you may have noticed this when I took it off of the printer, so you see the bleed actually didn't print outside of that, and that can happen. Do you see how it looks cut off? But now that when we pop out that cut, do you see that the scallop is perfect? And so I really wish that it wouldn't do that, just because it freaks me out a little bit, candidly. But the same thing happened down there. So the bleed went outside of the bounding box, but then the cut is actually perfect. And so it just pops right off. And so there is our adorable card. And so then there is a score. Let's see if you can see it. So, okay, let's go ahead and cut out our other embellishments, and then we'll do all of this all at one time. And so now that we've gotten our materials cut out and we have our invitation and all of our embellishments, I pulled out a couple of additional things for us to work with. So I got a stack of paper at Hobby Lobby. These are just beautiful standard patterns. I love polka dots and stripes and things. And then I also got out a bone folder. I got some regular envelopes, and this is a 5 1/4 by 7 1/4. So as you're designing your invitation, just always make sure that you've gotten your envelope and you have that in mind, so that it will fit perfectly inside once it's all designed and created. And I also have some 3D foam adhesive squares, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. So let's start out first and foremost by scoring this. So I've never found that my Explorer scoring tool works very good. I mean, it worked, and on a regular paper it'd probably be just fine, but on the cardstock I've never felt like it did a very good job, although it does give us that nice clean bend, but it's not a firm score. So what I like to do is I will take my Cricut cutter and then my bone folder. Now, if you don't have a bone folder, you could also use a case knife. And I will just place my design right inside this. And I find that these tracks on this are perfect for being able to score. The trick is that you want to firmly hold your paper. And I don't go really hard or deep on this. I will just go back and forth. Maybe even work from the middle outward, because I don't want to accidentally grab my edge, and just give it a little bit deeper of a score. And so if you don't have a scoring tool, this is a perfect way to get that score. And again, a case knife, just make sure that you're not pressing too hard, because of course the case knife is going to be even more sharp than this dull little scoring tool. Okay, so now that we have scored that better, the next thing that we want to do is we want to embellish our card. So I cut this out, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to put foam adhesive squares on the back of this, and it's going to give it a raised effect so that it's going to stick up above the seeds. I think it's going to be super cute. And it kind of gives it that fun element. Maybe one more. And then we'll just peel. And the fact that I have all this ink all over my hands looks crazy. So if you're just joining me, this is my printer ink exploded. Yay, right? Okay, and so now what we want to do is we want to place that so we can see the seeds. And now how fun is that, right? So we have that raised effect. And you could, this card could be broken down to do multiple raised, like if you wanted to do that. I want to be able to mail this, and so that's why I'm only going with the one. But super sweet, right? And so then I'm actually going to write inside of mine because my ink played out, and so it's not as pretty as I would like for it to be. But this could be a great insert for the inside of your card. Okay, and the next thing that you could do is, again, this ant, I'm not going to use him, but my idea was that he is red, right? So I put that offset around him that is red so that, two things, so that he cuts much better, right? Because those little legs, I would have cut him all to shreds. Even with the Cricut, it would have been a mess. And then I also have a large enough space to put a foam adhesive dot on. So if he were fully black, I would actually like raise him and put him on the front of the card. And that would have been really, really cute, right? And actually, you know, I may redo these whole things because this is going to be the invitation to my 4th of July party that I am hosting here at my own house. And so I think I'll just remake these. I have to do a lot of them anyway, so I'll go get some ink, but it would be kind of like that. How cute, right? So, so cute. And then these are actually going to be on my envelope. And so I would be able to address these, and I'm going to attach those. And you could even print these out with sticker paper so that they are cute little embellishments on your envelope. I just thought that would be super sweet. And another thing that you could do to kind of take this to the next level is, and I'm going to show you with this. This is an insert that I did at a different time for a different project, but this is just literally an insert of paper inside of my envelope, and you don't even have to go all the way in. I did here, but you don't. You could just cut out the rectangle. You would literally measure your card, and then you could put adhesive on it, like a little glue stick or something. And I thought it would be really fun to use a gingham, a red gingham, so like a picnic tablecloth. Would that not be sweet? And so then when you open your envelope, you've got that pattern, and then you have your little watermelon design. I just love it. It's gonna be so much fun. I think the family's gonna think this is really neat when they get this in the mail. Okay guys, I hope that that was fun and you learned a ton. And if you wanna keep crafting with me, you wanna make some more cards, pop into this video next.